Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear me and everyone is able to see my screen. If possible, can someone please confirm if you are able to hear me clearly and able to see my screen? Guys, can someone please confirm if you are able to hear me and able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So what I discussed is, we discussed about distributed logging with Zipcon and Sleuth. Okay. What exactly is in a chain of microservices, if you want to track the complete chain of communication, like microservice 1 to microservice 10 or 20, the complete chain, if you want to track it, something like where we are using a cloud community component, which is efficient logging. What exactly it is going to take care of service name, trace ID, span ID, and export flag. Service name, whatever the microservice name we registered, and trace ID, a unique transaction ID for entire communication. All microservices communication need transaction ID, and a span ID, which is specific to that particular microservice. Export flag is, if it is true, the same transaction ID will be maintained. If it is false, wherever the service you mentioned, from that service onwards, it will take a new transaction ID. And also, we need to start a Zipkin server. We need to download a Zipkin, and we need to start the Zipkin server. That's it. And yesterday I discussed about the code point of view, guys, on a Zipkin and Sleuth, and a code point of view I explained here. So as part of the code point of view, that same example of whatever I implemented on a order service and payment service, whatever the things I implemented in order service and payment service, okay, just I'm going to explain on implementation point of view, and we'll see the Zipkin and Sleuth for today. That is what I learned for today. Any questions, anyone, before I proceed further? As of now, any questions from anyone, guys, before I proceed further? Okay. So in order service, I wrote a pom.xml with a Zipkin and Sleuth dependency. Because in Microservices, I no need to do in anywhere. I only need to do here in here. This is what our micrometer tracing bridge wave, Zipkin reporter brave. These are the two dependencies which we need to add a Zipkin and dependency. Actuator also we require, but anyhow, it's there. It's part okay. These two are the two dependencies which we need to add as part of Zipkin and Sleuth is concerned. And just like we need to provide our configuration in application.yaml file, where is our Zipkin server is running here? This is the only thing here. Spring.Zipkin base URL. That's it. No, nothing else you need to add here. Very, very simple, loosely coupled. But how to do that actually? We need to download the Zipkin server, guys. Maybe I'll tell you how to download here. Zipkin server executable jar download. You saw here, this jar you need to download. Maybe if you want, I'll give you this link. Zipkin server jar download. Okay, which I downloaded here on this Zipkin server.executable jar. I downloaded here, and just like we ran java-jar, that executable jar. This is a standalone code, java-jar. This is a code, so that Zipkin banner will come here. and it should start it. You see here 9411. 9411 is a default port. So which is Zipkin server is started. That's what I configured 9411. So what I did, sir, I added two dependencies and I added my YML file. These two things only I did in case of order service as well as in case of payment service. Now we'll go to payment service. In form.xml, same here. Micrometer. That's it. And in our, this is what all. That's it. Only two entries in the form.xml and Zipkin base URL. That's it. You no need to do anything, sir. And automatically everything will be taken care by the Zipkin itself. Any transaction it will make. So what exactly we did, sir, here? Order service is making a call to payment service, right, guys? Here I have a chain, right, sir? Order service is making a call to payment service. Yes or no, guys? Order service is making a call to payment service. So I have a transaction ID, which is a trace ID for order service, the same trace ID for payment service, same trace ID. And a span ID, two different span IDs will be generated. I can see the entry in the Zipkin dashboard. Our microservices. I mean, first of all, we will not get it. But after we run, you see here order service, payment service. I mean, as I run already, that's why I'm able to see. First time for you, you will not get it. You need to make a call. Then only this will be available. Okay. Minimum one call should be available. After that, it will be taken care automatically here. So that's why I'm going to write here. I'm going to run the code. Any questions, guys, before I proceed further? Can I run the code or any questions here? Any questions? Can I run the code, guys? Okay. I'm starting the registering. My registry service is started. Right. Registry service is started. Config server, sorry, gateway. You see, if there are 6 services are in one Eclipse, if we start 16 GB RAM, this is a problem. If one computer is there, it will take. Yeah. Gateway is also up. Config server. Registry is up. Gateway is up. Config is up. Yep. So that's also up. Let me start my real microservice. Payment service. Yeah. So payment is also up. Let me start my order service. All are started, sir. Just I'm starting auto service. Yep. Order service is also started. Now you see here local host 8761, right? Config server, gateway server, order service, payment service. All are started here, right? What I will do is I will go to order service, clear the console. I will go to payment service, clear the console. Because just I want to show you the span ID and all those things, right? Now let me go to whatever the request here. Uh, I lost that information. There is a book order, something like. Let me go there. There is a JSON and JSON, but did I give that information?
Sir, you can check on Google Classroom.
Is it available?
Yeah, it's there in Google Classroom.
Yeah, yeah. Just like I'm checking. Somehow I lost it. I should save everywhere. Not there, sir. Yeah, yeah. I think it's there. Cool. Perfect. It's there. Just like I'm taking this URL, post request, body, raw data, and the URL is this is the URL. Right, sir? Order number is 150. I'll take it. AC quantity 2, price something like that. I'll take it. Sir, same sir. Nothing else I'm changing, sir, here. I've not done any change here. Just like I added 2 dependencies in the pom.xml and I configured. I added 2 entries in the pom.xml and I configured that URL. That's it. Apart from that, nothing. Right? Now let me hit it. Think it's not registered it. It will take some time. Yeah. Payment processing successful and order is placed. Okay. Now you will see here. You're able to see that, guys, now in the order service. You see here payment service. There are 2 transactions. Let me go to order service. You saw here. I'll capture this info or else I'll zoom it. You're able to see that, guys? Right. B3D19. It is common here. So B3D19, the same B3D19 order service and a span ID here. Okay. If I go to payment service, the same B3D19, you saw here the same B3D19 with a different span ID. Service name, what is that actually? Trace ID, trace ID and span ID. B3D19, the same you're able to see here and the same I was able to see here. One more transaction, 77413. Okay. And we'll go to payment service 774. Now we can see it in the Zipkin dashboard. Okay. After you run this, guys, you will find order service. Okay. You'll see total 3. 2 yesterday's one. Okay. 3 minutes ago. Now you see here order service, post, order service, order/book order, order controller, trace ID, span ID.
Why it's both
And
same, sir?
first one, right? First service, both will be same. I mean, you saw first the same microservice calling itself, right?
Okay, yeah.
Sir, for this one, you can see here, not payment service, order service. You saw here, same. for first call.
Okay.
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 Yeah. Now for payment service. Now we'll go to Zipkin. For payment service. You saw here. Now you saw different. B3 is a trace ID, span ID different. You saw here B3 D19 is a trace ID, span ID, and parent is this parent ID because payment service is ordered from. You saw here order service comma payment service, and how much time it took, how much time payment service is taking. 720 to 45, 720 to 46, 720 to 47. 2 seconds, it's 2.36 seconds, it's finished. So almost 2 seconds it took. In my local computer, 2 seconds, but in production, if you reply in real, it will take few milliseconds, so not much time. So this is where configuration also very easy, but somehow this is not up to the mark. Where I cannot see the log, only I can see the inflow and outflow, the time. This is the only dashboard. Okay. Yeah, but as of now, I thought of showing this trace ID, span ID, and I want to show the IDs and I want to show this UI. Okay. Maximum till now, I never see a implementation of this in real time because of its own limitations. If I have tons of logs, the Zipkin will be, URL will be very, very slow. If 1 crore zip parodies are there, lot of, I mean, I cannot say, I cannot measure that factor number. If lot of transactions are there, Zipkin is very, very slow. But ELK, very popular. You have 10 TB or 20 TB log file is also there. That's fine. It will be because it has a some loosened search algorithm, which is efficient algorithm to quickly search the data.
Sir, for ELK, in the pom.xml, is there any dependencies
Nothing,
we
right?
know?
Nothing.
Yeah,
We
nothing.
don't
That's what
read.
I got. For Zipkin you added, but ELK you did not add it. That's
Because
what
ELK is a third party, right? Not
yeah,
Spring Boot community. This is Spring
yeah.
Boot community.
Oh,
And
got
one
it.
more thing is, second point, that is one point. And the other point is, I have not done anything here. Just I configured Zipkin and I mentioned that, hey, my Zipkin server is here. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
But
You mentioned log and
correct.
that Zipkin server
Dependencies.
URL.
Yeah,
Yeah, depend.
correct. But in ELK, I did in Logstash. Hey, my microservice is giving a log file here. Go there and trace that. I gave that control in the Logstash. My Spring Boot nowhere related to ELK. No dependency, nothing. The same, I mentioned that here the URL, there the log file path. That's it. My microservice is giving a log file to this particular path. From there, you can understand, right?
Yeah.
How Lucent algorithm works, sir?
If I know, then I'll create one more ELK. It's a secret. They don't know. I also searched actually. There is no logic is given in anywhere, sir. It's a proprietary information. I found out how they were able to search that much quickly. Okay. I also don't know, to be frank. And nowhere it is mentioned on a Lucent search algorithm. In Wiki, they mentioned, but purely theoretically. But on implementation wise, they didn't give me anything. I searched for 2-3 hours and I stopped searching. But if anything's are there, I'll update. As of now, I don't know the logic of how Lucent search algorithm is. I feel that it's their core logic and they didn't expose it outside. Okay. Yeah. Any other question, guys, here? Right. I hope everyone is clear. Now, what I'll do is let me stop my services, guys, because my system will be too down. Let me stop order service. Now coming back to next architecture, sir, event driven architecture. Any idea what is event driven architecture?
So what about Grafana?
Sorry,
What about the Grafana? There is one more.
I'll explain. Grafana is there, I'll explain. It's there. The relatively, this is the Grafana is a little bit different here. That's why I'll go after that. Sir, everything I'll cover. But I mean, it's you mentioned that you are tracking in same, but rather than Grafana, we'll see other point here. Okay. Right. Now, any idea on event driven architecture?
That is used to communicate between services, and it is completely asynchronous services. And everything communication between commands and events, and we use messaging this in
As a
between.
layman should understand. I am not understanding whatever you're telling. What is event driven architecture?
Yeah, event-driven architecture. Actually, in RESTful web services, we will call through HTTP,
Mhm.
but we can't send bulk data at a time, and there is no uh, like data will be secure, not secure, guaranteed to deliver to provide the like guarantee to deliver to external systems. We will create a event and send to the by using event id you can send that data to other systems. That is the thing I thought.
I feel both are wrong, sir. Please don't mind. I'll explain why they are
Yeah,
wrong. It's my perspective. Okay.
yeah, no problem.
Vishwanath, you mentioned something. I am not able to understand clearly. If you just now Vinod mentioned, I was able to clearly understand. Maybe his your headset problem or your internet problem. Vishwanath, whatever you mentioned, I didn't get exactly. Can you repeat again? What is event driven architecture?
The communication is completely between commands and events. Am I clear now, sir?
Still your voice is low. Can you uh,
Somehow we are not able to command and event something like you mentioned, but I will not get exactly getting, sir. Fine. It's okay. You can ignore. Maybe if you have a clear headset, maybe you can speak. Otherwise, we'll continue. Or any other apart from Vishwanath and any other.
Yeah, we can achieve asynchronous communication. We can also have fire and forget.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
important point.
correct,
Yes, it's important point. Okay. Why asynchronous? Why fire and forget?
correct.
So I'll explain here. Okay, sir. Asynchronous. Not all asynchronous calls are not event driven architectures. Not all things. Okay, there is a small thin layer. A small thin layer. Whatever I'm explaining right now is only the experience which I got through my career. Nowhere it is mentioned that whatever I'm teaching right now is absolutely evident. I don't have any evidence. My experience is only a little bit evidence, and it's purely my perspective also. Subjective to correction, I may be little bit wrong also, but I'm not sure. Okay, but you can justify whatever I'm teaching. Okay, for me, event-driven architecture is in a layman word. In a layman word, in a layman means I don't know anything, maximum things. Okay, I wrote some 100 lines of code. Whether I wrote, say, I don't know where I wrote. I wrote some 100 lines of code. Okay, this code is executed only when user did something. Not immediately. When user performing something, when user performing some action, that time only that 100 lines of code should be executed. This is a gist of event driven. Means, sir, I wrote some 100 lines of code. That 100 lines of code should be executed only when user is doing some performing action. If user does not perform any action, that 100 lines of code will not be executed. Okay. What is that action, sir? Generally, click, button click. When I am doing a click of the button, I write that 100 lines of code. When I am doing a radio change, I'll write some 100 lines of code. Drop down change, page load, right? Page unload. So lot of these events, lot of these actions, I can say that. Lot of these actions, when a click is happened, what code I need to write? When radio button is changed, what code I need to write? When a drop down is changed, what code I need to write? When a page is loaded, what code I need to write? Something like that, I will write a code and the code will be executed only when the action is performed. This is the main top, not a technical, sir, normal English meaning, event driven architecture, normal English meaning, not technical. So that any person can understand easily about event driven architecture. Now, when it comes to technical part of it, mostly this is user interface related. Mostly this is user interface related information. All actions are converted into events. I can say that all actions I can consider as the events. When event is performed, action will be executed. When event is performed, action will be executed. When event is performed, action will be executed. We call that as an event driven architecture. In any of the framework I can achieve. In Java, in .NET, in PHP, anywhere I can achieve. And mostly this is user interface related architecture. Okay. But somehow, can the same architecture will be added in a backend? Is it really useful? No, sir. It's not useful in backend. Why? Sir, when I click some button, I will call my respective controller, the UI, the JSP or JS or whatever, the front end will call the respective UI. Okay. It will call the respective UI, guys. And the UI will call the controller. And controller will call the service. Service will call DAO. So, for example, sir, I am placing an order. What happens here? Order.jsp click button. Order.jsp click button will invoke order controller. That will invoke order service. That will invoke order DAO. That will insert the data into order table. If I say front end is our JSP and our controller, backend is our service, our DAO. So we don't require this kind of architecture in a backend side. Only that is required only on a front end. Only that architecture I need at a front end point of view, because front end does not have any business logic here. Front end usually call backend, and backend will take care of that. That's how in monolithic architecture, in SOA architecture, we don't require that event driven architecture at all. We don't require that architecture at all. Either in front end or in back end. I mean, only in front end it is required. In kind of architectures, we don't require at all. Correct, right? Will you agree to me? As of now, everyone agree to me, right, guys? Yes.
Yeah, in Java also different microservices.
First of all, SOA. What is SOA, sir? SOA is, I'll give my perspective. First of all, till monolithic, everyone is clear. Whatever I mentioned, will you agree with my points here? We'll come to SOA now. I'll explain SOA also. As of now, everyone is clear. Whatever I mentioned for till now, what is event-driven architecture, what is exactly, and till monolithic, everyone is clear. Coming
Yes.
back to SOA, what is SOA architecture? I will hit the call directly without front end. It's a purely hitting a call from a, instead of a button click on my UI, some other click on other UI. Assuming that Swiggy and Zomato ordering a paradise biryani. I'll take that scenario, right? I'm placing a biryani, okay, through Swiggy or Zomato. Previously, Paradise Hotel have a click button. I have a paradise.jsp, paradise.js, paradise controller.java, paradise service.java, like that. Now, same call will come, but the button click is on the Swiggy UI or a Zomato UI. They will hit the REST call. They will hit the REST call. The REST call is whatever the information I used to get in my HTML, instead of that, I'm getting from JSON. What is the event here? What is the event here? REST call itself is an event. For me, REST call itself is an event. When the REST call will happen? When customer place an order in Swiggy or Zomato, that time they will make a REST call. That REST call is an event. So when SOA architecture came, rather than front end, it slowly started with a service layer. There's a new point here we can add here. After SOA architecture or with SOA architecture, what is SOA, sir? Directly they can hit my service layer or they can hit my business logic layer through REST protocol. Through REST protocol, they can hit. But when this is hitting, when the same event-driven architecture is at their UI, which is triggering a REST call, ultimately it's triggering a REST call. Maybe we can call that as a REST invocation is also a part of event-driven. Correct, right? So, which means that whenever I make a call through Postman, whenever I make a call through any of the REST invocation, REST call invocation, can I call that as an event? REST communication is, can I call that as an event? Obviously, we can call that as an event, right? If at all, if I'm hitting on the SOAP UI, Postman, browser, Angular, React, Node.js, then only controller will be called. Otherwise, REST controller will not be called, right? Previously, button clicks is a user interface. Mostly the event driven is coming from the user interface layer itself. Now, user interface, here also user interface will be there, sir. Mostly user interface will be there. but not our interface. It's some other interface. I can see that almost same, but instead of our UI, we are getting a call from different UI. But if that action is not performed, then this event will not come. So by default, REST protocol communication, REST invocation is also we can call internally as an event. Internally as an event. Is it correct? Now, in case of microservices architecture, what exactly event-driven comes into picture? What exactly an event-driven we need, or what exactly event-driven comes into picture? This is completely a different topic altogether. Lot of people may not have something like that, but as one of two friends just now told, maybe Vishwanath mentioned that fire and forget asynchronous communication. They are part of that. They are part of event-driven architecture. But typically, what exactly an event-driven architecture is, it is not about front end or our front end or a different front end. But in a microservices world, typically in a microservices world, the scope of event-driven architecture automatically leverage. Initially, it was only just now whatever SOA is there, till that time only we have. At SOA architecture, what exactly the point, sir? Typically at SOA architecture, what exactly the point here? They will hit the REST call, and hitting a REST call is also a part of event-driven architecture. Previously, instead of our UI, it is hitting a REST UI. I mean, it is coming from Angular or a React or Node.js or from Postman or any other things. From there, the call is coming. That's the event-driven architecture. But later, when we are moving our product into microservice architecture, after that frequency of changes, due to frequency of changes here, the scope of event-driven architecture is completely changed here. But ultimately, anything is changed that doesn't violate the basic principle. What is my basic principle? I wrote some code. That code will be executed only when a specific action is performed. That is a fundamental concept of event-driven architecture. No automatic communication. Something should happen. Some event should trigger. Some action should trigger. On corresponding to that event and corresponding to that action, that code will be executed. That is a fundamental baseline of an event-driven architecture. Okay. Now, how it is changed in microservice architecture? What exactly which is going for microservice architecture? All those things. I will take with example. I will explain clearly with example so that it will come into effectively into your mind. Okay. As of now, any questions, guys? Whatever I explained, typically an event-driven architecture. As of now, any questions here? So far.
I could not understand anything from your explanation.
Are you at what time you joined, sir? If you don't mind, please.
At 7:15.
Okay, 7:15 means I think I hope I am teaching in. It started at 7:20 or 7:25 only. So, are you there from the beginning, sir? Event-driven architecture.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I simply explained in normal. I didn't went to technical part of it, right? I didn't went to any technical part of it. With a normal English, With a normal scenario only I explained. Okay. Where you are not able to follow, entire things you are not able to follow, or you are not listening to the class perfectly. I want some clarity. Please don't mind.
No,
It's my responsibility that I need to feed the knowledge into your brain. It's my responsibility. Just I want to get a.
I could not understand anything. What is event-driven architecture?
Sir, what I told actually? Okay, you are not able to understand. At least can you tell me what exactly I told? What is event-driven architecture?
Can you explain some use cases so that it will be easier to understand?
I'm going to explain, sir. That is what I'm able to explain. That is how I'm able to explain with a use case. First of all, whenever I'm explaining anything, right? First at a high level we'll explain. Then after getting some idea at a high level, then we'll go to use case level. Then we'll go to code layer. Then we'll go to implementation layer, right? Step by step by step, right? First of all, you didn't understand anything at about high level. How can you understand about use case level? Correct, right? You're not able to understand anything. If I go to use case level, what is the base point? If you don't know the base point, how you'll understand use case? And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, from examples we can understand. No.
Yes, sir. With examples you can understand. I understand. Okay. But with that example, the base statement, if you're not able to follow the base, what is the base statement here? For example, event-driven architecture. I wrote some 100 lines of code. Okay. When the event is performed, then only that 100 lines of code will be executed. If the event is not performed, if the action is not performed, that 100 lines of code is not executed. Is there any complex English is there in this?
No, what is that event?
What is that event here? In your perspective, what is an event? Click is an event. Will you think on a user interface point of view, click is not an event, sir? First of all, in a user interface point of view, I wrote some code in the button click.
Oh yes, it is not an event-driven architecture, right? The mouse click, it is not coming under the event-driven architecture, right?
Why? What is the baseline for event? That's what I explained to you. Okay. If you don't have a baseline, if you go to use case, then you learn. That is what my baseline. What is your baseline? What is event-driven architecture and in your perspective baseline? Why I cannot call that mouse click is not an event-driven architecture?
I think event-driven architecture comes into picture when application to application communication takes place. Some application talks to some other application, then at that time, event-driven architecture come into play.
No, sir. It's purely a miscommunication. Okay. Event-driven architecture, slowly it went to like that. Some application to some application, slowly it went like that. But the baseline of event-driven architecture coming from jQuery. 15 years back, jQuery it is started. Okay. Now in microservice architecture, sir, it's application to application communication. It went like that. Okay. But that's what I'm telling here. You need to understand the baseline. Then only you'll come to know the remaining part of it. Okay. Mouse click is also an event-driven architecture. What is an event-driven architecture? What is a baseline? What is a base statement here? Whenever I do a radio change or drop-down change, for example, I have a user interface, sir. First, I will select state. In the first drop-down, I will select state. I have 3 drop-downs, sir. Assuming that I have 3 drop-downs. Okay. State drop-down, district drop-down, village drop-down, mandal drop-down. Not sorry, mandal will come first. village drop down. This is how the architect, somehow this is how I have. Okay. So what is that actually? Whenever I change a state here, on this drop down change, I need to make a call. What are the districts are available with that change in the state? Then that itself is an event. Drop down change is an event. What is an event? Action. In my perspective, what is an event here? Action. If user is not changing anything in the drop down, no call will be made. Okay. I am changing a state in the drop down, then districts in that state will be automatically populated. If I change the districts, all the mandals in the district should be pre-populated. If I select a mandal, all the villages in that mandal will be populated. It's a classical example of event-driven architecture. What is the perspective? What is the baseline here? I am performing some action. I have a code to execute based on that action. That is event-driven. The state, whenever I changed, if I don't change this, it will not automatically call that. For everything, the baseline is an action. User action is a baseline. Okay. What I told here, when one of the participants asked me on the SOA architecture. Now, Dev, are you clear so far on a user interface is concerned? I'll clearly explain you, sir. No, don't worry. Application to application, I will explain you. I'll go there only. Okay. But as of now, what I am covering on a user interface point of view, will you agree with me? Will you able to understand as of now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then slowly, one of the participants asked me about SOA architecture. What I mentioned in the SOA architecture is slowly SOA architecture is also part of event-driven architecture. Previously, what happened here? A drop-down is not a best example in SOA. For example, a best example is Paradise Hotel is there. They have their own UI. I will select my order, biryani or whatever it may be. I'll give my payment information, biryani information, payment information on the UI. I click on submit button, then order will be created. What is the event here? Submit is an event for me. Submit an event for me. What is an event, right? So which is coming from Paradise UI. When I click on submit button, Paradise controller will be invoked, Paradise service will be invoked, Paradise DAO will be invoked, and the order will be saved into product Paradise table. That is a monolithic architecture. UI is at our place, services will be at our place, and controller, everything is in our place. But slowly what happens here, SOA architecture came. The submit button in place of Paradise Hotel moved to where? Swiggy, Zomato, or Angular, React. Just like I'm telling here, Node.js. To there, this code will go. The event is performed from there. Event is action is done at their end. Event is performed at their end. When I click on, I will enter the same biryani. I'll click on my input will not change. Is my input will change on Paradise Hotel to Swiggy UI? No input change. I'll give the same biryani. I'll give the same payment information. But instead of giving on a Paradise Hotel UI, I am giving in the Swiggy. Okay. What happens here? They will make a REST call. The REST call itself is the event for me. where you can think that application to application communication. Swiggy is one of application, Paradise is another application, which is coming to each other, event driven architecture. But ultimately, what is event driven architecture? If I click on submit button, I am making a REST call. If I am clicking on submit button, I will make a REST call. That REST call will interacting with my Paradise communication REST layer. That is also an event driven architecture. If I don't make a REST call, the event will not perform. If the action will not be performed, and the code will not be executed, right? Previously, I used to get a call from JSP. Now I am getting a call through REST. But the code will be as it is. The communication will be as it is. Only the mode of communication is changed. Apart from that, nothing. Is it clear now? This is what I told as of now. Nothing else I told. Deb, are you clear so far? Mr. Devendra, I'm talking to you. Are you clear so far?
Yes.
This is what I told. Nothing else I told. I mean, you mentioned right, and nothing I understood right. Just like this is what I told, nothing else I told. Now I'm going to a scenario. I'm going to explain a scenario now. What is an event? I only gave a baseline statement. What is an event driven architecture is? I wrote some code. The code will be executed when some action is performed. It can be a user interface action, or it can be application to application communication. Whatever the word you used, application to application. In my perspective, a REST call, a web service call is also an action for me. That will be a typically event. I only gave a baseline definition, nothing else I've explained here. Now I am going to focus on a use case, a real use case. In case of microservices, is the same meaning will be there, or is the meaning will differ? Now I explained in monolithic, I explained in SOVA, but I didn't cover in microservices. Do we have the same line? Baseline will be there in here, or the baseline will change? That is what my point I want to stress here. Everyone is clear, guys, as of now? As of now, I explained on monolithic architecture and service-oriented architecture. I explained some baseline on an event-driven architecture. Now I will take a scenario, not theory. I will take an example in microservice architecture and how we code. What is the way of we code? And why we need a new event-driven architecture. A new set of event-driven architecture. Whatever Vishwanath mentioned, right? Asynchronous communication, fire and forget. Why that need to come here? That I will give a big perspective here. Clear everyone, guys? As of now, everyone is clear on the basic introduction of event-driven architecture. Any questions so far? As of now, any questions so far, guys? Okay.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll discuss tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to discuss here. I'll need to share only the Zipkin and Sleuth code. That's the only pending. And remaining everything as it is, I've shared it. Is that correct? Is that correct statement?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks,
Sir,
everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you started Spring Boot microservices class at
Yes.
6 a.m.?
Yes, yes, it started, sir. It started. Demos are over. Tomorrow onwards, live classes.
Oh, okay.
Demos only over. Why Spring Boot? Why Spring? Why EJB? Whenever I take, right, first I'll go to 10 years back. I speak from EJB RMI, EJB RMI to Spring, Spring versus Spring Boot. Why microservices? SOVA versus monolith versus microservices. This is what I told in the demo classes. Now, after that, we'll go into start tomorrow onwards, regular classes will start. Okay.
Oh, tomorrow onwards, regular classes. There is no demo, sir?
Yeah, demos will be over. Yes.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Thank you. Okay, guys. Thanks everyone. We'll meet tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you all.